Well, good morning, honey, and I know it doesn't look like morning just yet, but I figured I'd best get up early, seeing as how I need to be at the theater in a little bit more than an hour now, which, yeah, it really does still look dark out here in Hong Kong. It is just after 6 o'clock, everything is just getting started, and for once I'm feeling a little bit worried because I can't seem to reach the internet or anything like that. I see I'm not the only one up at this hour. Normally, if I was to be up at this hour, I'd be the only one. But the fact of the matter is that today is departure day. The Brisbane to Hong Kong trip is over with, and the Hong Kong to Beijing one starts. I'm told we're going to gain a net of 500 or 600 people for this particular leg of the journey, so that should be interesting in and of its own right. But the fact that I can't do anything with the internet at the moment is a little bit worrisome. Again, I remember Hong Kong as being a free city, as it were, even with its own basic law. But it would seem it is now part of China. So, forget it, Jake. Which begs the question as to if and when you're going to see this. So, to be fair, it's the internet. The internet is forever. It's going to be around for a while. It's just not going to be here as soon as I'd like it to be. Not a whole lot I can do about that. So, in the meantime, though, like I said, got myself put together to go out. I'll be back at the ship, or at least done with my excursion at 1 or 2 in the afternoon today. But until then, we get the full gangplank treatment today, first time since Brisbane, for obvious reasons. More to the point, for the same reason. This is the end point of one segment and the beginning of the next. Well, welcome to our first stop, honey. And we are outside of, we call it Victoria Station? It's actually going up Victoria Peak, and this is something that didn't exist when I was here. In fact, it didn't exist a year ago. We're going to be taking a funicular to the top of the peak from 80 feet above sea level to 1,200 feet above sea level. They say that on a clear day you can see forever. Well, what you can see here is that it's not a clear day. Oh, even Patrick is amused by this situation. Greeting us and saying, "Welcome to London. Now you know why the British captured this place. It just looks so much like home." It's, I'd say it was beautiful, but I can't rightly tell you, honestly. There's not much there to see at the moment. I'm actually kind of surprised you could see me. Oh, this is funny. I don't know what it is about these destination ports that we always get this kind of weather, but first Brisbane, now this. Yeah, you've got to live with it. The ships can move. The ports, well, you're kind of stuck with the weather you're given. Really, it's mildly embarrassing as how little there is to be seen here. Even the shops at the moment are still closed, despite it pushing towards 9 o'clock. Which I suppose, given malls at home, shouldn't be all that strange. It just feels weird to be wandering around early enough that nothing's going on yet. Even this place, which you'd expect to be open by, I don't know, 7 until 11, is closed, and there's not much for it. At least it keeps us from spending too much when there's nowhere to spend it. Well, the fog hasn't quite lifted completely, but we're getting there. This is an overlook from Victoria Peak. guess it's Victoria Station here too, because we've got a lot of the buses that stop here. So we're just taking a moment to look out over the city from multiple different directions, although in fairness, it's not a perfect view. It's still a little cloudy in behind us. At least we're getting a little closer to being able to see what's back there. Well, I'm back to some place where I've been before. I barely remember it, but when our guide started talking about the Jumbo restaurant, I had to admit I do recall it. Unfortunately, the place is no more. Thanks to COVID and the losses that were mounting up, the owner decided to sell to a Cambodian firm where they were going to turn it into a casino over there. Unfortunately, it ran into some rough weather and was swamped. So it's gone. There's nothing there. I don't remember much about the place myself, to be honest. When I was there, the only thing I can remember is that they served prawns much like the way we saw them in Australia, and none of us had the stomach for eating the stuff. So, well, we're at our final stop for Hong Kong, or at least for this tour, Stanley Market, which our guide cleverly describes as Caucasian town, because in a Chinese city, everywhere is Chinatown, but there's something different about where the British would live and work. So that's where we are now. It's a place for discount clothing, textiles, and that sort of thing. I'm not really sure what I'm looking for, or if I'm looking for anything, but might as well wander about. In a way, there's a certain familiarity to this place, as it seems very much like wandering through old Jerusalem. The tiny little shops here and there. If I had something in mind to shop for.
Hello. The sensor for everyone for our children play.
Try and take a few pictures of the area first before trying to actually look for something. Leather goods, textiles. This is something I hadn't thought of. Neon signs? Wow. This goes on for a while. When our guide described this place as a T-shape, and the intersection was barely a few steps in, I was afraid there wasn't much to it. I knew it had to be bigger than that, otherwise, why make such a big deal out of it? Honestly, I feel like I've walked the length and breadth of the Stanley Market area all the same. It's fairly small, and then all of a sudden I come to this section, which is the waterfront part, and it opens up a bit, except that there's not much selling going on here. Not that I mind too terribly, because it also means that you're not hemmed in by ceilings and roofs, and you get basically this huge open air area and a view of the bay as well. It's really quite beautiful. Not as much shopping to be done, but it's not like I was trying to do any shopping anyway. This is a sight to see, more than stuff to buy. Yep, here in Stanley Plaza, this really does feel a little bit more like Caucasian town. All those well-known names that we're familiar with. And after a certain amount of time, they're almost welcome because you haven't seen them for so long. It's not enough to get me to go in there necessarily, but it's just this feeling of, okay, it's something of an anchor to where we come from. I guess that's what most of us Anglo tourists tend to gravitate towards. Maybe it's the sense of, after so much of what we consider exotic, we need to grasp onto something slightly more mundane just to anchor ourselves for a moment. Just to see the names, the brands, and all that is enough for me. It's not like I have to go into a McDonald's or something like that. But there's something reassuring about seeing it there. I don't know if I'm putting it properly. Well, I seem to have run out of area here too. And now it's a matter of making my way back in time to catch the bus. Which is probably just as well because you only get so much time. Our guide described it as there are certain of us who, if we were given 5 minutes in Stanley Market, would say that's too long. There are others that would say if we were given 5 hours, that wouldn't be enough. I'm not sure where I fall in that continuum. If I'm actually looking for something, 45 minutes might be enough. But as I don't know what to look for, it's a little bit of both. It doesn't give me enough time to really decide that, I want this or I want that. Nor does it seem like it's worth staying on the bus and going, don't even bother. It just leaves one with the predicament of what to do for that period of time. Window shopping is all very well and good, but you feel like you should find something and bring it home, and yet I can't imagine what. Nothing calls to me. Nothing says, oh, you'll regret this if you don't get it. Without a particular objective, it's kind of hard to find what you want when you don't know what that is to begin with. So, I have to admit I'm leaving here empty-handed. Without a clear plan, that's the sort of thing that's going to happen. I don't know what to get anybody. Nothing screams out to me that it would be something that somebody else would want, nor is there really anything that calls out to me specifically myself. So here I am at the end of wandering around all that. I've got some decent footage, but apart from that, not much of any value other than the sights, which, maybe as the MasterCard ad goes, are priceless. Quite the experience. And as it so happens, we've probably got more than 24 hours left in Hong Kong, since we don't take off until tomorrow afternoon. Not sure what I'm going to be doing till then. We're quite a ways from the city center. Heck, we're not even in Hong Kong itself, but rather Kowloon Peninsula. Whether there's an easy way to get onto public transport or what have you, I have no idea, and I'd be afraid of getting myself lost. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, whatever I decide to do, might as well ask you to keep an eye on me and wish me luck. I'm probably going to need it.